I 26M found out that my fiancée 25F has been cheating on me with at least 5 guys at the same time. This is still fresh and very rough on me. We've been together for 5 years, engaged for 2, live together and have a dog. I thought we're living the dream. Up until last night. My fiancée is out of town for a work trip and I had to do something on our laptop which she primarily uses. As I was doing my business on it, messages kept popping up. It was annoying, so I clicked to turn them off. Well, to my surprise, several conversations open up with some very explicit content. There were 5 different guys she was texting at the same time. I learned that all of them are cops in our city or a city over. It's easy to tell that she already met all of them at least once because there's mentions of how much she liked it and what to do next time. There was also discussion about some violent stuff, like she was saying that she wants to be roughed up, handcuffed, beaten, etc. I saw that she already did this since one of the dudes said something like, "Yeah, I'm gonna slap that face good next time." Overall, it was very painful to read. I don't know if these guys know of each other. I haven't told her what I know yet. She's coming back on Tuesday. I turned the laptop off, but I'm sure she's still texting them. Those conversations were very long, so I'm assuming this has been going on for a while. What do I do from here? I'm so heartbroken and numb. Help. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, dude screenshot them and send them to her, then turn off your phone and move out. Let her come back to an empty apartment. 5 guys? I mean, there isn't any maybe we can work through this with 5 guys involved. Redditor 2, pack her it up before she gets back. Then if the house and dog are co-owned, maybe get a lawyer. Go take photos of the conversations you've seen so she can't twist it. Redditor 3, sorry that happened to you dude, but what do? Break up with her. It's your decision if you want to confront her about her cheating or not, but regardless, you end things and remove her from your life for good and never talk to her again. She doesn't love you. She's currently or has been ducking 5 people currently, which means you probably missed a ton of other guys that she's currently ducking or was with a month ago. Also, get yourself checked for STDs. Redditor 4, what do I do from here? I don't understand the question. Do you mean like you're wondering how people who live together split assets after they are broken up, like who gets the couch and who gets the TV and stuff? Or is who gets the dog your main concern? Update. Turns out my 26M fiancé 25F has slept with a dozen other guys over the past year. I posted here a few weeks ago regarding my fiancé cheating on me. This has been the most difficult time of my life. I feel sad, empty, and betrayed. Yes, I confronted her. She simply shrugged and didn't have any explanation for what she did or why. In summary, she ducked the entire precinct in our city. When she refused to offer an explanation, I decided I would contact one of the guys that she had been sleeping with. He turned out a real bro and walked me through the painful story of my cheating ex. She expressed desire to be their slut and do whatever they tell her to do. At first, she started off with one guy, then she asked if he could ask his coworkers' buddies to join. They said yeah. According to them, they got together once a week or so to basically have a gene bang. It was painful to hear this because I could never in a million years imagine her in such a way. It disgusts me still. They would also text her to meet up at any given time to suck them off or whatever. So she was essentially their S-time toy. I am beyond upset. I moved out and cut her off completely. The guys didn't know she was even in a relationship, let alone engaged. I tried to understand why she did that. What was elking? She only said that she felt good being treated like a W or by them, being restrained and slapped. Yes, it was all consensual. I have not told anyone about this. I am too embarrassed. I haven't even gotten out of the house besides work. I'm afraid people will soon start asking why we broke it off. What am I supposed to say? I'm so broken and confused. Redditor's reactions story 2 after. Redditor 1, Valentine's Day posts are a BTCH this year. Redditor follow up, honestly though I feel like all relationships are turning into S at this year round. Redditor 2, woof dude, that is rough. Well, I think the unfortunate thing is that even if you asked her, and she told you, chances are you would never understand what drove her to this. Find a therapist, I'm a firm believer that everyone should have someone they can talk to outside their social employment family circles to act as a relatively impartial third party and process so you can move on. The sooner you can put this behind you and let it go, the better. Redditor follow-up: I've known a few women like this and they were all abused as children. They basically had their soul murdered. Sad. Redditor 3, I am proud of you. Cutting off that relationship must have been hard considering you wanted to marry her, but seriously dude, I think you are going to be better off than with someone who cheats, lies and hurts you emotionally and mentally like that. It's fair to feel embarrassed, but her decision to cheat was selfish and for her own desire to be wanted. It doesn't make you any less of a man, or a great future husband. She was willing to sacrifice an amazing marriage and commitment with you for meaningless sex. Don't feel like you owe anyone an explanation if you're not comfortable. You can just blanket statement it with something like, we realized that we weren't going to last, and just leave it at that. What she did was awful, but if you only spread blame when talking to other people, it'll only make you bitter, and it's better to start healing and move forward to what's next in life. Story 2. My GF27 brought up one of her college classmates during SX. Not sure how to take it M32. So I guess this isn't a typical yelled out the wrong name in bed situation, but it's similar. We've been together for over 3 years, living together for a year and a half. Everything's been great, she's very loving and affectionate toward me. No complaints at all. Cut to us having time and I bring up her being full of CM and going to class like that as a mental fantasy. She then says, yes, and everyone in class gets a turn. I know she has gene bang fantasies, which is fine by me. I've even been willing to help play out those fantasies using toys to simulate the experience. But then she says, and John gets a turn. Especially John. My name isn't John. I honestly think she was thinking out loud and didn't realize she said it because she went on like nothing happened. I should have said something right there, but I was so taken back by it. I know who this John is and he's engaged to someone else. Though that obviously doesn't mean much if he's willing to cheat on his fiancée. He's also in her cohort and she sees him all the time at school. I'm all for privacy and have never snooped through her messages in the 3 years we've been together, but I gave in after this, and after she left her Facebook logged in on my PC, so I read through her messages to this guy and there isn't anything in there incriminating. She even talks to him about me and how great I am, yada yada. The only thing that was even slightly eye-raising was her asking where he was on campus and asked if he wanted to walk with her to a lecture they were both going to that day, and that wouldn't even make me blink had she not said his name during time. Should I talk to her about it? I've had zero hints over the last 3 years that she would be cheating on me, and I don't know if it was just a slip of the tongue or if there may be more to this. Any advice? Redditor's reaction. Story 3 after. Redditor 1. Man, y'all are some pessimistic motherfuckers. It would hurt my feelings a little too if I were you, but I wouldn't make a big deal out of it if everything else is going well. I'm sure she has friends you'd bang if there were no consequences. I'd suggest just realizing that's where her head was. It may have been insensitive, but I wouldn't consider it detrimental. Redditor follow up. This guy is one level-headed, down-to-earth guy. That's a rarity in these parts. Redditor 2. So did you ever have a girl in your life who you found very attractive and fantasized about, yet you maybe weren't with her? I don't know. This seems normal and healthy as long as she isn't actually binging him. I can understand why it would hurt your feelings though. Op answer. This was my thought process as well, and I totally understand if she fantasized about other people when we have sex. I'd be lying if I said I'd never done that myself. But since it's someone we both know and she works closely with, I found it a little concerning. That's why I asked if I should even bring it up to her or not. Redditor follow up. So did you ever have a girl in your life who you found very attractive and fantasized about, yet you maybe weren't with her? I don't know. This seems normal and healthy as long as she isn't actually banging him. I can understand why it would hurt your feelings though. Op follow up. I guess I'd just like the peace of mind that she has no intentions of trying to actually hook up with this guy. I didn't go through her phone, just Facebook for what it's worth. You date someone for 3 years and never has she ever mentioned another man by name, so it was a little startling. I love her to death, so I guess in the back of my mind I'm slightly worried I could lose her if she was trying to get with someone else. Story 3. My 38 meters wife's 35F former lover is my son's 13 meters best friend's dad, and he told my son about it. First of all, I hope this is the right format. I mostly just lurk on Reddit and made this because I have no idea what to do. I came home yesterday and found my son completely despondent. He is normally happy and bouncing off of walls. It is tennis season and he has been playing almost non-stop, so when he is actually home and I am home from work, I want to spend time with him as much as possible. Usually play video games or board games or watch horror films, etc. I tried talking to him but he wouldn't talk to me. Finally I sat him down and he told me what happened. Apparently he was at his best friend's house and they were watching movies when his friend's dad came home. He apparently at some point mentioned to my son, his friend and a couple other boys that my son's mom was really hot and wild back in high school and at times would fool around with multiple guys at a time, and they need to find a cool girl like that once they get to high school. He even told them he still has some pictures of her from back then, but he would show them to them when they are older. He said some other things but I won't get into all the details. I really didn't know what to say, so told him sometimes people say stupid things as jokes. He said that some of the kids already started teasing him about it. My wife and I met in college. I knew she wasn't a virgin, but past that I really didn't ask much about her past. She never had mentioned that anything happened with one of our son's friends' dads, but then again she never said something didn't happen. I asked her about it last night. She was upset. She was really mad that he would say something about it. She did admit to me that in high school, I guess on a few occasions at parties, she did sleep with him and some of his friends. She said she was experimenting, etc. She was a bit of an outside amongst girls her age, so hung out mostly with guys, and she said it would just happen, it didn't mean anything. I was upset hearing this and she lashed out on me and said I shouldn't judge her about her past, and she is right. I was just hurt and assumed she had been with a few other guys but didn't think she was doing multiple guys in one night or gene bangs or stuff. Now I don't know what to tell my son. I don't know if I should confront this guy. I don't want my wife to be upset with me and I don't want to be thinking about all of this. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Update: I talked to my wife more late last night. Found out some answers about what happened and it's ducked up and hard to deal with. This is not me trying to troll about my wife's past. I know the advice there. It's in the past and I have to get over it. I'm sure that will come in time. I am really worried about my son. He is just totally shut off now. We were supposed to go to Kings Island, a theme park by my house, his favorite place, and he told me he isn't going this morning. He looks like he hasn't slept. Redditors reactions update after. Redditor 1. Knowledge of a partner's sexual history is important for this exact reason. I'd be ducking livid if my wife kept former lovers around without telling me that I or my son were interacting with them. This is pretty much the worst case scenario. You are embarrassed, she is embarrassed, and now your son gets to be the guy with the cool girl mother at school. Unfortunately, you can't protect your son at this point, so this is about damage limitation. You have to tell the guy that he's massively overstepped and that you will kick the acid out of him if he ever does anything like this again. He is going to be in your life unless your son changes his social group big time, so lay down those ground rules about what he can say to your son, what topics are appropriate. This will likely blow over if it's a one-time thing, but if this a shoal keeps spouting off to his son, it will still get back to your son. Honestly, I'd ask your wife if there is anything else from her past out there you need to get ahead of. If her social circle includes one of these ex-partners who has a big mouth, it stands to reason that some of the others might still be in the vicinity. Edit: can't believe people are putting the wife's happiness above the son's here. He is the only one here who hasn't contributed to this. Op answer: yeah, I am pretty sure there is at least one other person kind of in our social circle. My son's history teacher last year went to their high school and was friends with this guy, and I just don't know how to ask my wife about it. Like, hey, did you duck him too? Update: my 38 meters wife's 35F former lover is my son's 13 meters best friend's dad, and he told my son about it. I figured I would post this here since I got a lot of messages asking what happened, and people really did help, and it actually helped to read other people's issues on this board. However, I think I will have to do something sooner rather than later. I had to pick my son up from day camp. He had been in a fight. His shirt was ripped and he had some bruises on his face and knuckles. I guess at camp his best friend was joking with other people about how his mom had sucked his dad's DCK, so wondered if she would suck his. My son obviously didn't like this and threw a punch. According to counselors, they were fighting and other boys jumped in as well. My son now doesn't want to go back to camp. He wouldn't talk much more about it than that, other than I guess another friend, also black, said his dad also slept with my wife. I asked her and she said, I think so, but not 137. Sure, which obviously doesn't make it any better. After learning more about what happened, I hate to say it, but I am thinking about a possible separation. I now realize I'm not wrong to be angry my wife didn't tell me. She now has told me of about 6 guys we have come into contact with since moving back that she has had some sort of time with at some point, and a few at multiple points. My job will let me move back to New York and I could bring the kids, or at least my oldest son, and she could stay here until we figure things out. That's what I am playing with in my mind. I just need to get away and need to get my son away. It's toxic. I am reasonably wealthy and have the luxury of being able to work from most major cities. I work for a large mutual fund company that has offices all over, and work has tried to get me to move to NYC for years. My wife tried to kiss me this morning. I kissed her back, but for the first time in my life I didn't want to kiss her. Thanks for all the help. I don't think I would have come to this decision without the advice. Update, I am going to work out of another office in another state for a while. Talked to corporate today and they are fine with it. My son said some things to me today that told me this needs to happen. I am taking my son with me for sure. I am going to talk to my wife when she gets home tonight about our 2 other children. He and I really need to get away from here. So we are leaving. Redditors reactions, no more updates. Redditor 1, does she need to tell you about everyone? Nope, but she sure is it better if she moves the whole family back to where she has a serious rep and befriend her multiple partners. That's where his wife went wrong. Tell your wife moving the kids back east is the only option, it's too difficult for your son. Then therapy, marriage counseling for whoever needs it. Then if you can ruin that guy's life. Redditor follow up, I wouldn't put separation out of the question. Everyone here pretty much agrees the wife engaging in the sexual acts wasn't wrong in any way, or that it makes her a bad person in any single way. However, for me, being married to someone who thought it would be a good idea to move back to a small town where you were the local Gene Bang Bottom doesn't make much sense to me. It's hard for me to believe that there wasn't a bit of deception or selective editing on her part when selling this move to op. Redditor 2, you know who deserves the most sympathy from me here? Your son. It's ducking hard, man, knowing that your mom had slept around with one of your classmates' dads. No son wants to picture their mother as a person who goes around ducking every guy before UFCKS come after me with she's a person too beal shit. I'm just saying it's different how a son views his mother and how he views other women in his life. Take him to therapy, man. Your wife is not the problem here, but raising your son to carry the burden of her mistake will help him in the long run if you're planning on staying in the town is your top priority from this very minute. Hope you and your son can find joy in the small things in life, stranger. Redditor follow up, yep, this is one big reason that being a sut is bad and why men desire low-end count women. Redditor 3, I understand your mind is messed up right now and you don't know what you want. You are talking about a divorce now. Just stop for a second. My advice would be to get the hell out of that town city and move to a new place. You say you are a bit wealthy, so you might be able to afford my next suggestion as well. Take your children and your wife out of the country for a holiday. Leave for 2-3 weeks longer if possible. Your son needs this time for your wife and yourself to help him. Your wife and you need this time away as well. Use that time without any distractions to work on your relationship with your wife. I think you will realize that you love her and that both of you need to discuss that even though she isn't at fault for what happened, she should have been open with you as well. You don't need info about little things. Your wife and you bum into someone she knows who isn't part of your circle of friends or children's friends' parents. Anyways, use that time to fix your family, don't run. If you don't want to meet anyone in your town anymore, just use movers to do the job. There are ways you can fix this. You don't have to end it with your wife, and deep down you are just lost and confused right now. You haven't had a clear thought in your mind since this all began. I wish you and your family the best. Keep us updated and hope it all works out. Sorry for any spelling grammar errors, on the phone. Redditor 4, no doubt it's her past and you shouldn't judge, but honestly, you'll never look at your wife the same again and neither will your son. It sucks all of this came out, but if I were you, I would absolutely bow out of this relationship. The longer you stick around, the more your mind will swell with "she did what?" inner dialogue. Good luck navigating that on a daily basis while keeping your sanity. I would look at separation with a lawyer, what that will entail, and then see about relocations and how that fits with your child and co-parenting. Life is too short to be burdened by someone else's actions that didn't involve you but damn sure have negatively affected you and your son. She was perfectly okay to explore her sexuality in her youth, but you damn sure don't have to pay for or live with those decisions that she made. That's all I'm saying. Redditor follow up. Check this much later after not paying attention to Op's story for a time. I have a question for you. Why should one not judge? Judging is perfectly fine and reasonable. We judge people for how they look, what they wear, how they act towards others. We judge everyone from saints to murderers. Judging people based on their actions is completely alright, and how we decide on our own disposition and behavior towards them. And yes, people are free to make choices and do things within the frame of the law. However, these choices have consequences. Then adding more bad choices such as getting him to move back there is just really nasty. Redditor 5, I don't see how you can stay in this marriage, but then again, I could never be as blasé as you were about my partner's past. There's a reason why banks run a credit check before lending you money, and it's because past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. You should have known about this from the get-go, and it should have been because you asked about it and insisted on getting answers before committing. Right now, your wife's promiscuity, and poor choice of partners, is literally ruining your son's life. She is held in contempt by these men, and in turn their sons hold your son in similar contempt. What you're dealing with is the consequences of marrying a acidy wife. She has poor judgment, and unfortunately you and your son are suffering for it.